Hello friends, let us now learn about a few points about bronchogenic carcinoma. So bronchogenic cancer, this is the primary malignant tumor of the lung. The primary malignant tumor of the lung is bronchogenic carcinoma. Okay, it is the most common site of bronchial cancer is in the lung hilum. It is the most common visceral cancer. It is the most common cause of death due to cancer in the world is bronchogenic carcinoma. Then if you see the risk factors, the main important risk factors include, this is associated with cigarette smoking. Smoking is the most common risk factor, and actually the smoking is the most common risk factor for two types of carcinomas, which are mainly in squamous cell carcinoma. Smoking association is seen in squamous cell carcinoma and also small cell carcinoma. Okay, but this smoking association is extremely rare in some other type of carcinomas also. Okay, this is also associated with air pollution. Okay, so what are the air pollutants? It is associated with air pollution. It is associated with asbestos, nickel. Okay, and it is also associated with other compounds also. Okay, it is associated with asbestos, nickel, and it is associated with radon. Okay, chromium. Okay, it is associated with asbestos, nickel exposure, radon, chromium. So if you see old lung scars, old scarred lungs can also result in adenocarcinoma. So it can also occur in lung carcinomas in old scars. These scars, old scars in lungs can be due to, it can be due to tuberculosis or irradiation. Okay, tuberculosis, irradiation, or if there is any wounds. Okay, or if metallic foreign body. So all these can lead to old scars in the lung, thus causing adenocarcinoma, right? So these also lead to ionizing radiations. Ionizing radiations are also the risk factors of risk factors of carcinoma of lung. Then if you see genetics, in the genetics there is mainly some genes associated with it are, we have BCL2 gene, c-Myc gene, and telomerase overexpression is seen, and we also have KRAS mutations are also seen. But I would like to discuss about these mutations in a little detail. Okay. Okay, I'll write here. So if you see what are the mutations associated with it and the type of cancer which is associated is important. So if you see RAS mutations and P16 are mainly associated with non-small cell carcinoma. Okay, then so RAS and P16 are associated with non-small cell lung cancer. Then we have c-Myc and retinoblastoma. Okay, these are associated with small cell carcinoma. Okay, then we have KRAS. KRAS is associated with adenocarcinoma. Then we have one more which is P53. Okay, this is associated with mainly both small cell and non-small cell carcinoma, but highest association with P53 is seen in squamous cell carcinoma, Okay, so this is about P53, right? Next we have done about the KRAS, P53 also. Next, there is one more important sentence. In small cell carcinoma, if you see, in small cell cancer, there is high expression of BCL2, which is an anti-apoptotic gene, and low expression of pro-apoptotic gene, that is BAX. So in small cell carcinoma, there is association with anti-apoptotic gene, that is high expression of anti-apoptotic gene, and low expression of pro-apoptotic genes are seen. Okay, so these are the genetic influence in the small cell carcinoma of lung. So I will just clear it out a little. Okay. Okay, I think decrease the size, that would be better. Shut. Okay, so these are important. I'll just revise them again. So we have c-Myc and retinoblastoma, which is important in small cell carcinoma. P53 is important in small cell and non-small cell carcinoma, but highest in squamous cell carcinoma. Okay, we have RAS and P16 associated with non-small cell lung carcinoma. Then we have c-Myc and retinoblastoma associated with small cell lung carcinoma. Then we have P53 associated with both small cell and non-small cell lung carcinoma, but highest in squamous cell carcinoma. Then we have KRAS, which has association with adenocarcinoma. And in small cell lung carcinoma, there is high expression of BCL2 and there is low expression of BAX. So this is very, very important. Okay, so these mutations are very important in bronchogenic carcinoma. Then once we have learnt about the mutations, now we will see the types of bronchogenic carcinoma. So in the types, mainly the types, these bronchogenic carcinoma are divided into two types. One, we have small cell variants or odd cell carcinoma, and we have non-small cell variants where there is adenocarcinoma, squamous cell carcinoma, large cell carcinoma, and bronchoalveolar carcinoma. So we have small cell carcinoma, which is odd cell carcinoma, and we have non-small cell carcinoma, which include the rest of the types. Then there is also mucinous bronchoalveolar carcinoma. Here this mucinous bronchoalveolar cancer is mainly spread by air and it forms satellite tumors. Okay, but we are not dealing with that right now. In this chapter we are mainly dealing with small cell carcinoma and non-small cell carcinoma. We will see some important points about small cell and non-small cell carcinoma. So if you see the small cell carcinoma, it easily metastasizes. It has early metastasis to lymph nodes. It is actually an aggressive variant. Small cell carcinoma is an aggressive variant which shows early metastasis to lymph nodes. It shows poor prognosis and it also responds to chemotherapy. So small cell carcinoma shows early metastasis to lymph nodes, it shows poor prognosis and it responds to chemotherapy. If you see non-small cell lung carcinoma, it is the most common type of non-small cell lung carcinoma is adenocarcinoma. This non-small cell lung carcinoma is most commonly seen in females. Most common type in females is adenocarcinoma. This is something like a squamous cancer. In non-small cell carcinoma, we have smaller squamous cancer with cavity appearance. Okay, there are also large cell undifferentiated type is also seen in non-small cell lung cancer. Okay, now we will see both all of them in detail. So before that, we will first see the clinical features. Okay, so in the clinical features, if you see, the most common symptom of bronchoalveolar carcinoma is cough. In less than 50% of the patients, the patient may present with dyspnea, chest pain and hemoptysis also. In less than 50% of the patients, the patient can present with dyspnea, chest pain and hemoptysis also. It is associated with malignant pleural effusion, clubbing or hypertrophic pulmonary osteoarthropathy is also seen in bronchogenic carcinoma, see these are important. If there is involvement of recurrent laryngeal nerve involvement, it can cause hoarseness of voice. If there is involvement of recurrent laryngeal nerve, it causes hoarseness of voice. If there is esophageal compression, then it causes dysphagia. If there is in small cell cancer, most commonly in small cell cancer, it is associated with superior vena cava obstruction. Small cell cancer is also associated with some syndromes like Eaton-Lambert syndrome. Okay, so these are seen. Then if you see this bronchial carcinoma, the major source of hemoptysis in this bronchial carcinoma is from bronchial arteries. Okay, and this bronchial carcinoma is most common on the right side. It is seen in the upper lobes. It is most common on the right side and seen in the upper lobes of the lung. Then we will see all the types of bronchogenic carcinoma in detail, and then I will show you the pictures of all of them. Okay. Okay, so first we have Pancoast tumor. So what is Pancoast tumor? Pancoast tumor is the tumor which is present in the apex of the lung. This Pancoast tumor is the tumor present on the apex of the lung. So this Pancoast tumor can be a squamous cell carcinoma, or it can be an epidermoid cancer. It can be squamous cell carcinoma or epidermoid cancer can lead to Pancoast tumor. Whenever tumor is in the apex of the lung, then it leads to destruction of one or two ribs, and as a result it causes the bronchial it causes the brachial plexus. Brachial plexus will get injured. Okay, it can compress the brachial plexus. Most commonly it compresses the lower trunk of the brachial plexus. Because it compresses the lower trunk of brachial plexus, that is C8 to T1, it gets compressed, and as a result it causes Horner syndrome. Because of the erosion of ribs, it causes shoulder pain, and because of this Horner syndrome and C8 to T1 compression, there is no proper nerve supply to the hand muscles. So as a result it causes atrophy of hand muscles. So these are the symptoms which you see in Pancoast tumor. Okay, now we will see the correct true variants. The true variants are, the first one is squamous cell carcinoma. If you see, this squamous cell carcinoma is the most common variant which is seen in Indian subcontinent. Okay, squamous cell carcinoma is the most common variant seen in Indian subcontinent. Pancoast tumor is most commonly seen with, it is associated with squamous cell carcinoma. Squamous cell carcinoma is seen in central in distribution. This squamous cell carcinoma can sometimes cavitate. It has central in distribution. It can form cavities. It has the best prognosis. This squamous cell carcinoma has the best prognosis. It is most commonly associated with paraneoplastic syndromes, like it is associated with hypercalcemia, hypophosphatemia. It is associated with paraneoplastic syndromes like hypercalcemia and hypophosphatemia. It can undergo surgical excision. Okay, so what do you see in squamous cell carcinoma? In squamous cell carcinoma, it is most commonly seen in Indian subcontinent. Pancoast tumor, it is central in distribution which will cavitate, and it has best prognosis. Most commonly associated with paraneoplastic syndrome is hypercalcemia and hypophosphatemia. It is treated by surgical excision. Okay, I'll just tell you the important histological features from pathology. So if you see the histological features from pathology which are important are, okay, let me write them. So this is the most common type of lung cancer in India, and this is, as I have already told you, it is associated with smoking, right? It arises centrally, it is central in distribution, and it mainly arises from segmental and subsegmental bronchi. It arises from segmental and subsegmental bronchi. Then if you see the histology, it shows presence of keratinization and intercellular bridges are seen. It is similar to any type of squamous cell carcinoma. So you see keratinization and intracellular bridges are seen in this squamous cell carcinoma. So one important thing here is marker of squamous cell carcinoma is cytokeratin is the marker of squamous cell carcinoma. So if you see histology, it mainly arises from segmental and subsegmental bronchi. It shows keratinization and intercellular bridges, and the marker which is associated here is cytokeratin is the marker which is seen in squamous cell carcinoma, right? Then we will see the next type of carcinoma. I will show all the pictures of carcinoma at once. Okay, then the next type of carcinoma is we have about adenocarcinoma. So this adenocarcinoma is the most common histological type overall. Okay, overall if you see, it is most common histological type. It is most common in non-smokers, younger people, and in females. It has peripheral in distribution mainly, and it has good prognosis, and it can metastasize to opposite lung. Metastasis is common in adenocarcinoma. So if you see, the features which are present in adenocarcinoma include the histological features in adenocarcinoma mainly includes, let me explain you them. Sorry. Okay. So features of adenocarcinoma include they are most common cancer overall is adenocarcinoma, most common in women and non-smokers. It has mainly glandular differentiation. It contains glandular differentiation with, or there can be mucus production. Here there can be glandular differentiation or mucus production by tumor cells is seen in this adenocarcinoma. Okay, then this is also associated with 4 patterns of growth. What are they? There are 4 different patterns of growth are present in this. They are, first we have acinar type of growth, then we have papillary, we have acellular type of growth or papillary type of growth, then we have broncho alveolar type of growth, and then we also have solid with mucin production, and we also have solid with mucin production is seen in adenocarcinoma. So these lesions in adenocarcinoma are mainly peripherally located, as I have said, and they are smaller. They are smaller in size when compared to squamous cell carcinoma, which are larger and proximally located. These adenocarcinoma also grow more slowly than squamous cell carcinoma, and they grow more slowly. Slow growth is associated with this adenocarcinoma, and if you see, they will also metastasize wider. They have slow growth and metastasize wider and earlier, and it is associated with area of scarring also. It is associated with area of scarring. Okay, so if you see, these are the important things here. In adenocarcinoma we have glandular differentiation and mucus in adenocarcinoma we have glandular differentiation and mucus production is seen by the tumor cells, and here we see 4 patterns of growth, which are acinar, papillary, bronchoalveolar, and solid pattern with mucin production. Okay, and this adenocarcinoma is smaller, grows smaller, and it has small growth, slow growth, and it has metastasizes wider and earlier. It is also associated with scarring. Okay, so this is the important features of adenocarcinoma. Then after adenocarcinoma we have 2 more, which is small cell carcinoma and large cell carcinoma. So small cell carcinoma, we will deal with small cell carcinoma at the end. Okay, yeah, first we will see the large cell carcinoma. So in the large cell carcinoma, it is mainly this large cell carcinoma is mainly associated with gynecomastia, and it is associated with galactorrhea also due to ectopic prolactin secretion. See, large cell carcinoma is associated with gynecomastia and galactorrhea due to ectopic prolactin secretion. So what are the features that you see in large cell carcinoma? So if you see in large cell carcinoma, it is mainly characterized by cells with large nuclei and they have prominent nucleoli. They have large nuclei, prominent nucleoli, and they have moderate amount of cytoplasm. Okay, and these large cell carcinoma is also located peripherally. Okay, so these large cell carcinoma have cells with larger nuclei and they have prominent cytoplasm. They contain cells of larger nuclei and prominent cytoplasm, and thus they easily they are located peripherally. Okay, so this is about large cell carcinoma. Then we have small cell carcinoma. Small cell carcinoma, paraneoplastic syndromes, and the rest we will see in our next class. Thank you guys for watching my lecture. Thank you.